This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Google Pixel 4a. For those of you who don't know, the A always comes after the not A model, and it's the more affordable one. So we had the 3A and the 3A XL last year. This time we don't get an XL options. We just have the 5.8-inch small fella here, and it's $349, which is pretty mad for what you get. We're going to look at it now. So what do I mean by that? Well, for $349, you get a phone that works with most all carriers, 4G LTE. You're not going to get 5G for this price, and I don't think a lot of people are going to be heartbroken about that just yet either. 5G is by far not ubiquitous yet, but you get a OLED display on this and a reasonably high pixel density too, 443 ppi. Nice looking display. My only complaint is that the auto brightness on it is very twitchy. You can be sitting seemingly almost still in a room and it just will change itself. Probably they'll fix that with an update. And it's pretty bright. I mean, like Dallas, Texas, go outdoors in the sunshine, you can still see it bright. You have to enable auto brightness to get the max brightness, which is typical of a lot of phones. But still, it's as bright as the iPhone SE that it competes with, so good there. And we have a headphone jack, yay that. Okay, that's not to do with price, but it's just nice to have. But one thing that is nice, when you get a Pixel, you're guaranteed 3 years of OS updates. Typically when you buy an extreme budget phone, you might not get any OS updates, or at best a year, but probably don't count on anything except for maybe some of the security updates. So that is nice. Now, looks-wise, it's a Pixel, and looks are in the eye of the beholder, but Pixels are never really gorgeous-looking phones. The Panda Pixel two-tone was one of the exceptions, kind of cute. So this is the basic brown paper bag of phones, only it's black, and that's your only choice, black, just black. And in fact, they call it just black, and it's plastic back phone, and hey, for the price, that's fair. And you know what, anybody who's dropped one of the expensive slippery bar of soap glass phones might say that this is actually a little bit more relaxing. You might feel like okay not using it with the case or something like that. So that's fine. It runs Android 10 and soon to be Android 11 on the Snapdragon 730 mid-range CPU. So that's perfectly fine. It's nothing like it was flagship in terms of speed, but honestly using this and switching between it and the regular Pixel 4, which with a much faster Snapdragon 855 CPU, yeah, I really couldn't tell the difference. It's fast, it's fluid. That's part of what you get with Pixels. You get a nice clean operating system, thoughtful little customizations here and there, and that's about it. So you're not going to regret it in terms of speed, unless you're a real 3D game player. If you're into Call of Duty Mobile and all that sort of thing, those occasional frame drops might get to you, but I think the smaller screen would probably be an even bigger drawback. And that's one thing about this phone. You have to like a small screen to use it, and there are people who have small pockets, small hands, small budgets, and they all go together in this phone. If you're looking to spend around this price in Android land in the United States, the OnePlus Nord's not out yet. It's actually more expensive than this is too, but the Samsung A51 and A71 would be its closest competitors, the 51 being a little smaller, but both of those are bigger screen, affordable phones. So worth a look if you want something with a bigger screen. Later on in the fall, there will be a 5G version of the Pixel 4a. Physical size difference, I don't know. We'll have a bigger screen. Probably will run the Snapdragon 765G just like the OnePlus Nord. And of course this fall we'll also see the Pixel 5 models, which hopefully again will come in two sizes for those like me who prefer a bigger screen phone. You do get a fingerprint scanner on the back. I know a lot of people like that. I used to love that instead of some of the more fiddly in-display fingerprint scanners, but I've discovered that I've grown away from it now that I'm going back to it after not using it for a while. But if you like it, it's there. It's a capacitive kind, so it's very fast. It's maybe not as super secure as the ultrasonic one, but good enough for most people. There is no facial recognition scanning login, let alone the very fancy 3D kind that the regular Pixel 4 uses. It's not water resistant, no IP rating on this phone, and there's no wireless charging, which for the price is absolutely fair. Other creature comforts you might not expect on a phone in this price range are stereo speakers. The earpiece and the bottom firing speaker work together, and you have an always-on display and lift-to-wake for the display too. You've got your usual dual-band Wi-Fi on board, AC, Bluetooth, 5LE, and NFC for Google Pay and all that sort of thing. But what you really want to know about probably is the cameras. A lot of people who buy Pixel phones, well, they buy them for the cameras. So we have a single shooter on the rear, 12.2 megapixel, fairly fast f1.7 lens on it. And so you're not going to you get portrait mode, but you get the old-fashioned kind from a couple of years ago when we had single lens camera phones, right? So you'll see in some of the portrait mode pictures that it creates artifacts around the edges of things or notches out part of the flower and all that sort of thing, compared to the Pixel 4, not A, which does have the dual lens system for figuring out portrait mode, and it's head and shoulders better there. But other than that, this takes very competent photos. Then the night mode photos are really good, as you can see. I'm pretty pleased with those. Not a lot of noise, but not strangely sharpened or watercolory, colorful, the proper amount of illumination to make things look good, but not too artificially over-illuminated. Regular photos, say you're just taking a, the main lens picture, very competent. You're not going to get the amount of crystal clarity maybe that you would get on the Pixel 4 and some of the sharpness, and the dynamic range is a little bit less, which you can see again on that flower comparison set of photos that I provided, where the bright spots on the purple flower are a little more vibrant on the Pixel 4 versus the 4A. But still, for a phone that's $349, very good. Now the iPhone SE would be its competitor again in the not just the price range here, but in the size-ish range and also in the camera quality range. And the SE is no slouch. It also takes very good photos for its $399 price tag. Between the SE and this, really, I think it's mostly which operating system you prefer. With the SE, you're going to get a much faster processor with the Apple processor that's on board, and you'll get a prettier phone, but a more dated-looking phone. The Pixel 4a has almost no bezels, so it looks more modern from the front. And since it doesn't have the Pixel 4's fancy-dancy facial recognition system, it doesn't need that little forehead up top that the Pixel 4 has. The camera can shoot 4K video, and it's actually pretty good, in part because they have both electronic and optical image stabilization. You don't usually see optical image stabilization at this price, so you've got smooth footage, relatively good detail. Again, for a phone in this price range, fairly well done, especially considering Pixels really focus on photo quality more than video quality. It's perfectly acceptable. The front camera is an 8 megapixel. There's a little hole punch cut out for it, and it's f2.0 lens. It's okay. It's adequate. So how about battery life? That was the Achilles heel of the Pixel 4, particularly the 4 and not the 4 XL, which had a smaller battery than this one. So here you've got a not very demanding display in terms of resolution and a mid-range CPU and a 3140 milliamp battery. So the recipe is there for pretty good battery life, and in fact it is. It's not exceptional, like nothing I've ever seen before, but it's quite good. It's certainly iPhone SE territory, and it will match some flagships even because of the less demanding internals. It supports 18-watt fast charging, and you do get the 18-watt fast charger in the box. So that's the Pixel 4a for $349. Man, it's really hard to do better unless you're an iPhone person and you want the iPhone SE. And as long as you're okay with a small phone, because these days this size phone seems downright tiny, well, other than that, great for the price. And it should work with any carrier. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.